Welcome to 8 Minutes Chinese. Today, we're unlocking the essential phrases you can use in daily life and master in your next business negotiation.
Welcome to 8 Minutes Chinese, the deep dive where we take, these really sophisticated linguistic concepts and turn them into your everyday superpowers.
Exactly. We are diving into some really practical, actionable stuff today.
Yeah, and to start us off, I want you to picture this. It's like 3:00 p.m. on a Thursday.
Oh, the worst time for a meeting.
Right. You're trapped in one of those conference rooms with the aggressively bright fluorescent lights, and the meeting has entirely gone off the rails.
I feel like I've been in this exact room.
We all have. So someone across the table leans forward and asks you a highly specific, pointed question, like a question you absolutely do not want to answer.
Because you don't have the data?
Or because the real answer is just going to open up a massive can of worms. So panic starts creeping up your neck. But then instead of freezing or just outright lying, your brain does this weird bypass. You open your mouth and somehow you end up giving this passionate, 5-minute tangent about macroeconomic supply chain dynamics.
Which is, of course, entirely adjacent to the actual question.
Completely adjacent. But you deliver it with such conviction that everyone in the room starts nodding thoughtfully.
Yeah.
And the original question completely evaporates. The meeting moves on. You walk out in a cold sweat, feeling like you just committed corporate highway robbery.
I mean, that is an incredibly relatable scenario. You probably walk out feeling like you pulled off a desperate, messy dodge.
Oh, 100%. Just pure survival instinct.
Well, the funny thing is, you actually accidentally executed one of the oldest, most sophisticated strategic moves in human history.
Okay, I feel like that is definitely giving my panic response way too much credit.
No, really. In the stack of articles and historical notes we're doing our deep dive on today, we actually found the formal blueprint for this exact maneuver.
So our mission today is basically taking a 2,000-year-old ancient text and turning it into a modern superpower for business, negotiations, and, handling those impossible conversations.
Exactly. And that entire blueprint boils down to one core concept. It's 避实击虚.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so that translates to avoid the solid, strike the empty.
Avoid the solid, strike the empty. Let's unpack the origins of that, because jumping from an ancient battlefield to a modern boardroom is a pretty big leap. Where does that actually come from?
So the origin story takes us straight to one of the most famous strategic texts in existence. It's the Qinsning Bing.
Ah, okay.
Which translates, of course, to Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Specifically, we're looking at chapter 6.
Okay, wait. That completely flips the traditional Western reading of the book, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, I mean, usually when you hear some hyper-competitive Wall Street executive or like a LinkedIn influencer quoting The Art of War, they're using it as a manual for brute force.
Right.
It's invoked to justify this hyper-aggressive crush your enemies mentality. Dodging a difficult question doesn't really fit into that macho framework.
And that right there is the most persistent misconception about Sun Tzu. He wasn't writing a manual on how to be the biggest brawler in the room.
He wasn't.
Not at all. He was writing an analysis of physics and energy conservation. In chapter 6, he argues the exact opposite of overwhelming brute force. He basically states that the supreme victory is winning without fighting at all.
Oh, so it's really an exercise in conserving resources?
Precisely. Crashing into what is strong is just a massive waste of energy. Think of his favorite metaphor, water.
Okay, water.
Yeah, water doesn't look at a massive boulder in the middle of a river and decide to just smash into it until the rock breaks.
Right, because that would take centuries and a ridiculous amount of kinetic energy. It's like trying to punch a river.
Exactly.
You might displace some water, but you're just exhausting yourself while the river just reforms around your fist.
The water just flows around the obstacle. It finds the path of least resistance. The hollow spaces, the empty gaps, and it moves there.
Wow.
It's about being so strategically fluid that the other side has absolutely nothing solid to grab onto.
Okay, let's look at the actual phrase in the original language, because the linguistic notes we have here map beautifully to that water metaphor. Can we break it down character by character?
Let's do it. So it's a 4-character idiom that paints a very clear picture.
Yeah.
The first character is a bee.
A bee.
Yes. This means to avoid or evade.
Like stepping out of the way.
Right. Then we have she. This means solid, real, or fortified.
So in a military context, that's the heavily defended position, the boulder.
Exactly. But what's really fascinating is how this character operates in modern, everyday usage.
Oh.
For example, the word she, that means genuine, substantive, or down to earth. It's the real deal.
Okay, so she represents the substance, the thing that is firmly planted and reinforced.
Yes.
So the first half of the strategy is she. Avoid the solid, like do not attack the heavily defended fort.
You've got it. So moving to the second half, the third character is she.
She.
And this means to strike or to attack.
Okay, wait. So we are avoiding the solid, but we aren't just fleeing. We're actually still on the offensive.
Yes, and this is the crucial distinction between strategy and just straight-up surrender. You strike the rest. Right. This translates to empty, hollow, or unguarded. It is the gap in the armor.
Ah, I see.
And again, looking at the modern language gives us incredible context here. In everyday usage today, this character often shows up in negative traits that imply a lack of substance.
Like what kind of traits?
Well, for instance, suji. That means hypocrisy. It literally translates to hollow and fake.
Oh, wow.
Or shostrong, that means vanity, translating literally to empty glory.
That adds so much texture.
Yeah.
So shus carries this underlying meaning of like lacking a solid foundation.
Exactly. So when you assemble the whole concept, it's bishiji.
Avoid the solids, strike the empty.
Evade the fort, punch the gap. It's about ruthless efficiency.
You know what? Meme warfare is the perfect modern parallel for this.
Oh, I love this. Tell me.
Well, think about any social media platform where people get into massive arguments. If someone posts a highly constructed, deeply researched take, that is their she.
Right, that's their fortified position.
Yeah, they've built a wall around their argument, complete with citations and preemptive defenses. And if you attack their main argument directly, they just double down.
They defend the wall.
Exactly. They bring out more statistics, the algorithm rewards the conflict, and you just end up bashing your head against a boulder.
You're exhausting your energy on their strongest point, which is exactly what they planned for.
But the people who actually, quote-unquote, win those internet debates, they never attack the main point. They find the zhirsha. They find the one weird edge case the original poster didn't think about. Or they create a meme that completely mocks the underlying premise of the post.
Yeah.
They hit that empty, unguarded space, and suddenly the original, highly confident argument just completely collapses under its own weight because it looks ridiculous in this new context.
That is this ancient military principle translated perfectly into fluent internet culture. If you hit the gap they didn't defend, their entire structure falls apart because you just refuse to play by the rules.
It's brilliant. So let's take this offline and bring it into the real world. Let's look at the business case studies in our notes today.
Sure.
Say I'm in a high-stakes boardroom negotiation. I'm trying to close a massive vendor contract, and the other side is fiercely defending a really high price. It's a wall.
Yep.
My human instinct is to meet force with force and argue the price. Like, your price is too high, our budget is lower.
But confronting the price directly is hitting the shishin. They came into that room fully prepared to defend that number.
Right.
They have spreadsheets, they have market analyses, they have rhetorical defenses built up specifically for that frontal assault. They actually want you to attack the price because they know they can hold that ground.
So if I attack the price, I'm just playing right into their hands. To apply the strategy, I have to find the soft spot. I have to stop talking about the price entirely.
You shift the terrain. You move the conversation to delivery timelines or payment structures. Maybe you focus on bundled add-ons or long-term maintenance clauses that they haven't thoroughly defended. You pivot to the areas where they haven't built their fort.
Now, I want to dig into the mechanics of this because I'm thinking of that classic negotiation trick we've all read about in business books. You know, the get them to say yes to small things first tactic.
Oh, yeah.
You agree on the easy stuff to build momentum before you tackle the big, hard thing. How is the strategy mechanically different from that?
The difference is subtle but really profound. The small yeses tactic is primarily about timing. It's temporal.
Okay.
You're just delaying the attack on the strong ground until you feel you have enough psychological momentum. You are still eventually going to siege the fort.
But bishijija is spatial.
Yes. You aren't just delaying the big ask. You are entirely abandoning their strong ground and opening a completely new front. You aren't arguing their conclusion. You are quietly questioning their premise.
So how does removing the premise actually work psychologically? Like, what is happening in the room when you do that?
Well, when you refuse to fight on their ground, you deny them the dopamine hit of the conflict they prepared for. It creates cognitive dissonance.
Oh, interesting.
They're holding up a heavy shield, but you never swung a sword. Suddenly, they have to drop the shield to see what you're actually doing.
You know, there's a brilliant historical tech negotiation in the notes that perfectly illustrates this.
The software vendor one.
Yeah. So a major software vendor was demanding an astronomical upfront licensing fee from a smaller company. The small company knew they couldn't win a war of attrition over the price, so they stopped talking about the fee entirely.
Right.
Instead, they said, we will pay your exact asking price, but in exchange, we require exclusive permanent intellectual property rights to the custom code you build for us.
Such a masterful pivot to the discourse.
The vendor was completely blindsided. They had spent weeks building defenses for their pricing model, but they hadn't built any defenses around giving up their underlying IP, which was the actual core value of their business.
Right. The solid pricing structure instantly became a liability.
Exactly. The vendor ended up drastically dropping their price just to maintain ownership of their IP. The high price collapsed because the smaller company removed the floor it was standing on.
You're refusing to fight on the battlefield they designed.
So let's bring this down from the executive boardroom to, everyday workplace survival, because this happens in lower stakes ways all the time.
All the time.
The classic scenario, you spend a week building a proposal for a new software tool for your team. You do the research, you build the slide deck, you present it to your boss, and on slide 2, they immediately challenge the cost. We can't afford this right now.
The classic brick wall.
Yeah. And my instinct is to defend every single line item.
Yeah.
I want to point out the amortized cost over 3 years or the bulk discount. But by doing that, I'm just fighting in the arena my boss just built. It's an uphill battle against the person who holds the purse strings.
Exactly. So instead of defending the cost, which is their strong point, you reframe the premise.
How so?
You acknowledge their wall, but you don't attack it. You say, I completely understand the concern about the budget, and that's fair, but let me show you the cost of not doing this.
Oh, you instantly move the battle to unguarded ground.
The boss came prepared to argue about spreadsheet numbers. They did not come prepared to argue about a 20% drop in team efficiency or the cost of replacing burned-out employees.
This is so good. And our sources provided 2 incredibly practical phrases to help navigate exactly these moments.
Let's hear them.
The first one is a very common, non-confrontational modern phrase. It's "shuan zhe jingudu."
Ah, yes. That translates to change the angle or look at it from a different perspective.
So if things are getting tense and you need to pivot without triggering a defensive reaction, you just say, let's change the angle.
It's clean, it's practical, and it signals a pivot without telling the other person they're wrong. You're just inviting them to look at a different part of the map.
Right. And the second phrase is a broader philosophical concept that basically serves as the engine for this whole strategy. It's shidru kegang,
Which translates to use softness to overcome hardness.
It sounds very martial arts.
It does. It shows up constantly in martial arts, but also in Taoist philosophy and even modern leadership coaching.
Really?
Yeah, the mechanics of it are fascinating. Softness here doesn't mean weakness. It means flexibility.
Okay.
It's the fundamental idea that rigid things, hardness, force, stubbornness, they eventually break under continuous pressure. But flexible things, softness, adaptability, water, they can absorb pressure and redirect it. So when you use this in management, it's about overcoming resistance through flexibility rather than force.
Got it. So when my boss throws up the hard wall of the budget, I use softness. I flex around it, I change the angle, I let their force pass right by me, and I strike the unguarded space behind it.
Exactly. Which honestly brings us to the ethical implications outlined in the research, because context is everything with this strategy.
Oh, for sure. We have to address the line between being a strategic genius and just being like a slippery, evasive dodger.
Right.
If someone is continuously dodging every direct question I ask them, I don't think they're a genius. I think they're toxic.
And that's exactly why the research explicitly divides the world into 2 contexts.
Yeah.
You have competitive arenas and trust-based arenas.
Okay.
In competitive arenas, sports, business negotiations, courtroom law, or competitive gaming, this strategy is highly praised. It's a marker of high-level play.
The gaming example in the notes is actually brilliant. It's a mechanic called kiting.
Yes, kiting is a perfect mechanical demonstration of this.
For those unfamiliar, kiting is all about resource management. If you are playing a fragile, fast character with a bow and arrow, and you are fighting a massive, slow character with a giant warhammer,
You never stand still and trade blows.
never, you would be crushed. The melee character is the tsushi,
the solid force.
Instead, you continuously take a step back, keeping just out of the reach, avoiding the solid, while continuously firing arrows at them as they lumber toward you, striking the empty.
Yeah.
And Chinese gaming communities use our exact idiom today to describe macro-level strategies like this, or attacking the weak side objective on the map when the enemy team is grouped up on their strong side.
Because in competitive environments, it's just smart resource management. Like if you're a lawyer and opposing counsel frames the argument one way, you reframe it. You don't fight their facts, you change the context. That's doing your job well.
But then we flip over to trust-based contexts,
Right.
Your relationship with your partner, your friendships, public accountability, journalism. In these arenas, if you use this strategy, it reads entirely as evasion.
Definitely. If your partner asks you, why didn't you pay the electric bill? And you pivot the conversation to the philosophical flaws of modern utility monopolies.
You are not acting like a brilliant tactician.
No, you're just being a terrible partner.
Or think about politics. If a journalist asks a politician a direct, factual question like, did you lie about this specific policy? And the politician answers by saying, well, what the people of this country really care about is my 10-year record of service.
They are employing the exact same mechanical move. They are avoiding the solid point of accountability and striking the empty emotional rhetoric.
But in that trust-based context, the moral valence completely flips. It goes from being a brilliant strategic pivot to being incredibly manipulative.
The mechanism itself is neutral. The application defines the morality. If you are in a zero-sum game, use it to win. If you are in a collaborative, trust-based environment, trying to win by dodging is actually just destroying the trust that the environment relies on.
You have to know what kind of battlefield you are standing on before you decide how to move.
Perfectly said.
So, synthesizing everything we've pulled from these sources today, the real superpower of exchanges isn't just about winning arguments or surviving brutal meetings.
No, it's much bigger.
It's the profound realization that you do not have to accept the fight exactly as it is offered to you. You always get to choose your battlefield. You are never trapped by the premise someone else sets.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today, but to give you a little teaser for a future deep dive, there is another concept from the same philosophical tradition that pairs beautifully with today's lesson.
Ooh, what is it?
It's called holo yi dalao.
I'm looking forward to that one. It translates roughly to the art of strategic patience, resting while you wait for your opponent to tire themselves out.
Weaponized resting is definitely going on my list.
It's the perfect follow-up to energy conservation.
Before we wrap up, though, consider this. We've talked about how empowering it is to step around the solid and strike the empty. But what happens when you start applying this and you eventually run into someone who is doing the exact same thing to you?
Oh, wow.
What does an argument or a negotiation look like when both people refuse to fight on solid ground and both are constantly pivoting to find the empty space?
That's a wild scenario. Do you eventually reach a higher, more creative level of truth, or do you just end up in an endless, exhausting dance of evasion where nothing real ever gets discussed? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 8 Minutes Chinese. We'll see you next time.
Hope you loved today's 8-minute upgrade. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.